How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, and I am here with my good friend, Mr. Brett Bandick, in the car. How you doing, brother? What are you up to?
Just on the way in, man. Trying to beat out this heat, and probably gonna rain soon. So I mean, we'll see where it goes. But as of right now, it's traffic's not too bad.
Oh, that's good to hear at least. Yeah, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you got a long one in front of you. And hanging here with me on the show. Much appreciated. Today's topics, I should say. We're going to be hitting on the New York Giants and their two new additions at the running back and wide receiver positions. We're also going to speak about your New England Patriots and what they might have cooking with a potential addition at the running back position. We got
I like how
definitely.
you said cook.
Yeah, it wasn't even intended. I honestly mean that. I did not actually mean to make that make sense, but sometimes that's how it goes. But yes, I do believe that the Patriots definitely in the market for a running back addition to help out Ramondre Stevenson. And I've said it on previous shows. Your team definitely is going to try to compete with those quarterback-driven teams, possibly through a stingy defense and the running game. We're also going to hit on the great Shohei Ohtani. As many of you know, the Major League Baseball trade deadline is on the horizon. And we're going to kind of talk about some possible trades and things that can go down there. We're going to start it up with your team, Bretsky. We're going to start it off with the New England Patriots. As I alluded to, they are linked to both Leonard Fournette and Dalvin Cook. I'm going to ask you, being that you're our resident Patriot fan here on the show, what will they either addition bring to the table? And as I said, in your particular division, possibly the best division in football, debatable. You have three potential Super Bowl contenders. You have three potential Super Bowl contenders with Miami, Buffalo, and now the Jets with the Aaron Rodgers edition. And then there's the Patriots, coached by the guy who has the most Lombardis as a coach. So I ask you, first of all, do you want either one of these guys? I guess that's the first question.
I do actually. I do. I mean, both players provide, um, different skills to the game. I mean, Delvin Cook. He's got the speed. He's got the vision. And he's a good pass catcher. Fournette, I would actually, I would like to sign him. Just do a 2-3 year deal. I mean, he's got the leadership. He's a veteran. And behind Stevenson, I mean, Stevenson is obviously going to get that lead role, but there's nothing wrong with having, Fournette running the ball behind you or blocking for your quarterback. He's a great blocker. So that would tremendously help, Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, whoever gets a starting job.
Mac Jones for now.
Yeah, for now. But I mean, it's like I said, both players provide different skill set. Belichick isn't too high on signing all-star running backs, and Cook is still, he's still a top 10 running back. So I mean, I don't know, what Belichick's going to do. I mean, he's already, surprised me once already when not signing D-Hop when we truly needed him. So I mean, I don't know. The ball's in their court, but I would prefer Fournette. Like I said, he's got the leadership, and he's a great blocker, and he's a great guy to have coming off the bench, and having fresh legs come off the bench like that. So I would prefer Fournette.
Yeah, I actually could see Cook going to your rivals, the New York Jets. I tend to believe that Fournette could be a better addition. And the thing that he brings to the table is that he is a pretty good pass catcher.
Yeah.
I actually think that the combination of he and Stevenson could work because, you guys do need to replace Damian Harris, who is also is still in the division playing for the rival Buffalo Bills, a team that is definitely trying to get over the hump and get to a Super Bowl before their own window closes. Not acquiring D-Hop, I do believe that hurt you, but I also believe that picking up a player like a Juju Smith-Schuster is good. I don't consider Juju a number one. I look at the Patriots similarly to kind of how I saw my team last year, where we have a lot of 2s and 3s, not necessarily number one. But, previous Patriot teams have relied heavily on the run game, trying to play good defense, and also incorporating multiple tight end sets. And I do believe that, you guys picked up Mike Gesicki. You guys still have Henry. So you guys have a decent amount of depth and talent at the tight end position. I think in Gesicki's case, he's going to be looked at more so as a blocker. I mean, in the red zone, of course, he could be a threat. And I think Henry's going to be more of the guy that's probably running the routes. I mean, I always give the Patriots a puncher's chance, regardless if they are maybe lacking in talent, because of the fact that more times than not, they do have the best coach on the field. You can't say enough about a guy like a Bill Belichick, who has pretty much been through every phase of football since the friggin' 80s. He has been involved in this racket, so I'm never one to doubt his ability to get a team prepared on a Sunday, a Monday, or a Thursday.
I mean, their defenses, have been they've been the one keeping them in the games. Like their defense has been a pretty solid defense for the past few years, and Judon is just he's going to get better.
Judon's one of the best in the game. Truly, I do tend to agree with you on that point.
Yeah, I don't see Cook, going to any of those teams in the AFC East. Really, just number one, the biggest reason is his little brother. I don't think he wants to overshadow, what his little brother is trying to do in that division. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't think it would be a good move. I mean, like I said, I would prefer Fournette, but Cook will definitely go to a contender. I just don't think it's going to be in the AFC East.
I agree with you to a level. I don't think he'll go to Buffalo because of the point you made about his brother. But I do think that the New York Jets could make sense for one main reason. Number one, you could get Cook for, say, maybe 7-8 mil, which isn't terrible in the grander scheme of things, maybe even 6 mil. He get to work with a premier quarterback in the form of Aaron Rodgers. They have the offensive rookie of the year in Garrett Wilson. They're a team that's going places. On the other side, we've spoken on many a show about the play of Sauce Gardner, who, he's on the level of a veteran already, only playing 1 year in the league. He's the reigning rookie of the year from the defensive side. So the Jets had a clean sweep on that. And when I think about employment opportunities, and when you look around the league, there aren't a ton of teams where he makes sense other than some of these teams in the AFC East. Ultimately, I think that's the reason why he may very well end up there. And it's going to be fun because, we're going to be elaborating more as the weeks come along, because starting probably as early as next week, we're going to be doing our fair share of coverage on our divisional previews. I know our man Jimmy definitely wants to be a part of the NFC South show. His New Orleans Saints got a new look quarterback, so they're going to be a team that we want to talk about. Also, a potential Alvin Kamara suspension. It might not be all that bad because he did plead to a misdemeanor, but I do believe at minimum you're looking at 2 games. Baker Mayfield's in that division now.
Yeah.
And, it's an opportunity for Baker to continue his career. And although the Buccaneers don't have the highest expectations, you also get a young running back in Rachaad White, who has basically said to the media it's very important for him to be the first 1,000-yard rusher that franchise has had since Doug Martin. So you got some storylines there. Obviously, It's going to be a huge thing to replace Tom Brady. But when you think about a guy like Baker Mayfield, who prior to last year playing injured, was playing at a pretty high level in Cleveland, and, almost took the Browns to an upset victory over the Kansas City Chiefs a couple of seasons ago. So definitely an important year for Baker Mayfield to see if he could continue his career as a starter in this league. We're going to move it along over to my New York Giants for a moment. The Giants added some depth and possibly some guys that are going to be getting some real action because Cole Beasley joins a receiving corps that you already have Sterling Shepard, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Jamison Crowder. Somebody is going to get cut before the year starts. My personal opinion is that it's going to be Crowder. It could be Shepard too. One of those two. Because with Wan'Dale Robinson not going to be able to probably play until October, who when things are all right will be the main slot option. We've seen it in Buffalo. We saw it with Isaiah McKenzie, Jamison Crowder. We saw it with Beasley. These are Buffalo players. There's a reason why Dable has brought these guys in because they understand his philosophy. And I do believe that it's going to be a committee effort similar to in the running back. So if you're talking about the fantasy world, outside of Darren Waller and Saquon Barkley, assuming he signs his franchise tender, the Giants are not a team that you want to mess with when it comes to fantasy purposes, unless if it's the kicker, Graham Gano, one of the best in the league. And I do believe the Giants defense might be worth a look this year in fantasy. They have a lot of talent on that side of the ball, but I think it's going to be a committee effort. What I like about these moves is that I think Cole Beasley could still play at a high level. He's 2 years removed from having just under 1,000-yard season. He stayed away from the NFL because he was an anti-vaxxer, and to each their own. He didn't want to mess around with it. But I still believe that he could play at a decent level. I also like the idea that he's entering a division where he spent a lot of time as a former Dallas Cowboy. Cole Beasley's a gamer. I've always appreciated what he brings to a team, and I feel that he will be a positive impact on this receiving room. I think it's important to have some veteran leadership when you have a lot of new look stuff like Jalen Hyatt, for instance, young guy. You take Isaiah Hodgins, another former Buffalo player who basically was a practice squad guy and came on last year and came up huge for the Giants. On Christmas Day, he had a career best in Minnesota. So I definitely unproven on a lot of layers. The Giants receiving room. Paris Campbell's another guy. So I think what I like about this and what I like about Dable as a coach is that he truly emphasizes open competition. Because last year, you had a guy like Kenny Golladay making all that money. And Dable's like, I don't give a shit how much money you make. If you're not busting your ass for me, you're not getting on the field. And in that regard, I think it's a breath of fresh air.
That was an old school coach move. I loved it. Benching Galladay, even though he was, one of the highest paid players on the team. I love that. That's a page out of the Belichick and Parcells book. You know what I mean? So,
and those are guys that you want to be compared to, especially when you're talking about Giants lore. You're taking on that role, that job. You want to be compared to those guys.
Well, I really like the move with Beasley. I think he still has a lot to offer. And he is, he's one of the better slot guys in the game. And, like you said, he knows the system. He knows the philosophy that Dable wants to bring to the team. I think that's a solid move. And, bringing in, the running back, that's telling me that they're kind of over this, Saquon bullshit. I think I'm not going to say they're moving on from him, but at the same time, they want to provide competition, within the team, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I love the move that you guys did. It's smart, it's bold, and at the same time, you're going to probably save some money. So, you know what I mean. So it's a good move. I like the move. I think it'll be really good for your team. But in that division, I mean, it's I still got either Dallas or Philly coming on the top, but I think you guys can still make a nice push like you did last year.
Well, I think it's only reasonable to assume that the Eagles and Cowboys, until proven differently, should be the two best teams in that division because although the Giants did have a magical season last year, we only did win one divisional game. We still haven't been able to crack the code on beating the Eagles nor the Cowboys, particularly the Cowboys with Dak Prescott. We did get a dub over them with Andy Dalton a couple of years ago. That's different. But I will say this. If Barkley signs the franchise tender, then I believe that the Giants will be running with 3 running backs when the year starts. It's a lot of money to leave on the table, so I don't necessarily think that we're going to be looking at a Le'Veon Bell situation. I don't actually think he's going to miss any games. Right now, the way that the NFLPA is set up, the Giants cannot negotiate with him until the season essentially starts again. So I do believe that he will sign his tender. He'll probably have a limited snap share in week 1, just based on the coaching philosophy of a Brian Daboll, because of the fact that, hey, buddy, you weren't here, and this is a team, so you're going to have to get a lesser snap share. Eunice, Ace Vito, my mama. I like the Giants' move. They have to be prepared, and I see it as a proactive move. Yeah, I agree with her. I think James Robinson makes the team. I think Gary Brightwell either gets cut or gets pushed down to the practice squad, but this is the caveat. In the event that Saquon does indeed hold out for an extended period of time, I think that it's a no-brainer that the Giants are going to carry 4 running backs, and it's going to be truly all hands-on-deck approach. You've got the rookie Gray. Matt Breida is a solid pass catcher, and once again, another Buffalo guy who is very in tune with Brian Daboll's system. I like the moves because James Robinson's only a couple of years removed from being the number 1 back with Jacksonville.
Yeah, I like having the 4 running back depth chart. It provides a lot of different angles for your offense to be run. You put Saquon in that mix, and you almost become one-dimensional. You know what I mean? So to have that 4 running back depth chart,
that's a good point, Brett.
So it's like it's good to have those 4 running backs because they all provide different things to the game. So at least Saquon, you know what you're going to get. You know that you're going to get the hard running downhill. The pass catching needs a lot of work. He's not known for his pass catching ability.
Yeah, Saquon signs that tender. You're looking at 3 running backs, Saquon and 2 other guys. The 2 other guys are going to probably be the rookie Gray, and I would say Matt Breida. I think James Robinson would probably get bumped to the practice squad. I don't see them carrying 4 if Saquon signs the tender. That's my point. Zappy, our buddy, made a good point off air, saying how the risk that you run, can this become toxic? Because I do have to ask you this part, Bretsky. We spoke about it the other day on the show, but I didn't get your take just yet. What are your thoughts about this interview? I know that the media is trying to spin just those couple of words when I'm basically paraphrasing. He said, I could say fuck you to my organization and fuck you to my teammates. But he also said in the same breath, I don't necessarily want to do that. It's something that I have to sit with my team and really decide on. I mean, I get it. I think his feelings are hurt. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's hurt, definitely. But there's other ways to word it instead of, saying, oh, I can just say this, I can say that, but I'm not going to because I'm not that type of person. Well, you technically just said it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Brett. Thank you.
You know what I mean? So it's just, yeah, he's hurt, but there's other ways to go about it. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily something that you say to the media just because, once they hear something, they kind of run with it and they take it in their own direction.
And you would think
they add whatever spin to it. Like he's been in the league
long enough. Politics, it's been proven that happens in Hollywood too. It's been proven that happens time and time again.
I mean, he's been in the league now. What, 6 years?
He's entering his 6th year right now.
Yeah. So I mean, he should know how to handle the media. He's generally been pretty good about it. But as a pro athlete, you should know how the media is going to take shit.
I think it's kind of uncharted waters because of the fact that personally, I think he's getting poor advice because I know that there's going to be a lot of conflicting stories. But when you think that he could have made, say, 13 per, and when you look at a guy like Miles Sanders is only making half of that, Is Saquon Barkley twice as productive as Miles Sanders? You get what I'm saying, dude? Like it's a little ridiculous. And I mean, hell, the guy we just talked about, Dalvin Cook, he could be had for like $8 million. Saquon's franchise tag is $10 million.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the NFL is a business. And, they're going to pay players that they see fit. You know what I mean? So it's just, you know what I mean? It's a tough situation for both parties, but I think the way that the Giants are handling the situation, you really couldn't do it better.
I appreciate you saying that, because you know what it is, dude? You're a fan of a different team, and you're not emotionally invested. You're a football fan, so you're paying attention.
I'm a football fan, yeah, but it's not like, even after the interview, it's not, you haven't seen the Giants respond to it.
Nor will they, because they don't have to. But I will say this. When I think about the way it works, I understand that a lot of running backs are pissy. But at the same time, you guys approved the NFLPA thing, so you can't say that you guys didn't have a say in this. And then when I think about the fact that this man, and we've said it on many a show lately, missed over 20 games, and essentially he's coming off the first time since 2018 that he truly was healthy the whole year, and not exactly healthy the whole year, because he did have that shoulder thing. He did get dinged up. Yeah, I mean, they sat him week 17. That doesn't really count as missing a game in my eyes, because they sat everybody. But the point I'm making is there was another game against the Eagles where he wasn't even part of the game plan. He was basically a decoy, because he was hurt. Yeah. And we also got our ass kicked. But the point I'm making is, if I'm trying to advise Saquon, I would say it like this, dude. You have an opportunity to prove to this organization that drafted you that you can stay healthy for 2 consecutive years. If you can put up a better year than last year, or something on par with what you did last year, in addition to staying healthy, then yes, I do believe that there is that possibility that Saquon can get paid and get like a 4-year deal that'll probably expire by the time he's 30 going on 31, which at that point, for most running backs, it's time to accept a lesser role anyway, because the lifespan of running backs is short. And, I get it. Some of it is unfair. I'm not saying that everything is righteous with the NFLPA. I understand it. But what I will say is I don't think Saquon is helping his leverage by doing these kind of things. When I look at what the New York Giants did, you got Joe Shane, who's trying to fix a mess left by Dave Gettleman, and you got to make hard decisions. We all know that left tackle is more valued in the NFL than running back. So they signed their man Andrew Thomas. You sign your man Dexter Lawrence. These are guys that you want to make sure that you take care of. You trade for a Darren Waller, who, when healthy, is a top 5 tight end, something that we haven't had since a Jeremy Shockey.
That's assuming he's going to stay healthy too.
Indeed. And it's a risk you take when you believe in a player's abilities to perform. When healthy, we can both agree that he is very productive. And I guess what I'm ultimately getting at is the Giants are still coming out of that mess that Gettleman made. If they didn't have to throw Kenny Golladay all that money, this Saquon thing would have been a lot less complex. But ultimately, when you're talking money, he's not going to walk away from 10.1 or 2 mil, whatever have you. He will play. Will he sit out a week or two? I can't answer that, but personally, I don't think so, because he's not going to be winning any more fans or gaining the respect of his teammates as a captain if he does sit out. You're definitely not starving, and I'm going to leave it there. Keeping it in the NFC East for a moment, the Commanders to change their name after this season, and the great Magic Johnson recently said, I don't get involved in ownership roles to lose. I expect to win. And he has won 2 different times with 2 different franchises in Los Angeles. Now he's going to the nation's capital to try to help this franchise, who has been a wreck pretty much since the Joe Gibbs days. And last time they had credibility was when Gibbs came back, and, you had the late, great Sean Taylor, Clinton Portis, those teams in the mid-2000s. But anyway, the name change. It amazes me that they waited this long to come up with the Commanders, only to find out that they didn't really have rights to the name.
Yeah.
You have any suggestions on a name? I'm kind of curious what you think about this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think they need to find a new freaking lawyer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this all should have been talked about and negotiated before they even changed the damn name.
It's kind of weird when you think about that. They have a lot of people making a lot of money, and they can't seem to wrap their head around this.
What I would do is I would call Keanu Reeves and ask if the Washington Sentinels name has been patented, or if they, if the actual Washington team can, have rights to it. And I would change the name to Washington Sentinels.
I'm with you, Brett. It's funny because we didn't speak about this before the show. I actually do favor that name. I think that is the absolute best name. And you know how like certain teams have like nicknames, like the Giants or the G-Men or the Gents. You got the Jets. They call them Gang Green, et cetera, et cetera. Their nickname should be the Hogs because that was always their nickname, like their secondary name. Like that'll be their name, the Sentinels.
Yeah, but that's good. Nowadays, that's going to offend somebody. So,
yeah, what? Who are they going to offend now? A vegetarian?
Vegetarians, yes, exactly.
Minka. Okay, we're going to move it along to baseball before we get out of here. Bretsky, given the risk of a Shohei Ohtani trade, being that there's a distinct possibility he's going to want to exercise every last bit of the free agency experience.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to trade for this dude, or is he going to stay put with the Angels? They have just won 5 in a row, and they are kind of lurking in the wild card picture, and they do have Shohei Ohtani, which I guess you could say gives them a chance.
I said it before the trade talks even came along that he was staying.
So you got him staying for this year, and so no trade for you. Nobody's trading for him.
He'll stay this year. Next year, definitely talks with other contenders. But this year, I don't see it. I don't see a trade being done.
I tend to agree with you, Brett, for the main reason that it's too risky to deplete your farm system for just a rental. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And the Angels, if they were going to trade him, would want to really cash in.
Especially this late in the season, coming up on a postseason push, I wouldn't take that risk. So I mean, I would.
You would kind of wait. You would kind of wait and see if you could sign him in the offseason, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. I kind of share your sentiment, but just for the sake of having a little fun here. The New York Yankees, kind of linked to Juan Soto, kind of linked to Bellinger. There's a couple of players they're linked to. But hypothetically, if the Yankees had the stones to make a trade for an Ohtani, I know the Martian, Jason Dominguez, who was our top center field prospect, he would probably be part of that. We've heard the name of Trey Sweeney, who is another shortstop in the minor league system. Current shortstop Anthony Volpe, who's just a rookie. His name has been brought up, and one would tend to believe that it might take a current starter, maybe a Domingo Germán, or maybe a couple of dudes that are playing at a higher level prospect-wise in our farm. I would say Austin Wells, catcher of the future. Yankees will not entertain dealing him to anyone. Zappy off air a little while ago talked to me and said that the Texas Rangers, if we're talking about farmhands, literally have the best package. And he's not lying. They are very deep in the farm. I told him I don't think the Angels are going to want to trade him to a division rival. But, the return is ultimately what matters. I think the Angels, for right or wrong, are going to try to play their part and see if they can re-sign him, I should say, in the offseason and have him stay home. But let me ask you this one, Bretsky. In the offseason, who do you see as the team that's going to be able to land him in the free agency market? And I think he's going to do a lot of visits, and I think he's going to really take his time.
At the end of the day, during the offseason, I think the Dodgers probably have the best shot.
That's reasonable. That's a reasonable take.
Number one, number one, they can afford him, and Kershaw. I think Kershaw is done after the next year or so.
I would have to think so. Yes.
You know what I mean? So they're going to need some pitching, and to have him in that in that batting lineup with the rest of those guys. Oh my God!
Yeah, it's a scary. It's a scary thought.
I can see him going to LA. Staying on the West Coast. You know what I mean? So that I can definitely see. As far as us making a move on him, I mean, I don't even want to talk about the Yankees right now. Yeah,
I get it. And this is a weird.
Yeah.
This is an interesting week for the Yankees. They won last night, albeit against the Royals. One thing I got to say: if you like defensive plays and top tens that can make Sports Center, last night's game had plenty of it on both sides. Billy McKinney came up huge. The reason I want the Yankees to have a good week and a half before this deadline is because it is the difference between being sellers and being buyers. And obviously, at this time of the year, you always want to be a buyer because if you're buying, it means you're trying to make a run. I will say this. I think he's going to end up with the San Francisco Giants. The Giants struck out on Aaron Judge when John Heyman said arson judge. They struck out on Carlos Correa. But the fact that they had the money to throw at both these players, granted it didn't work out in the long run, I think the Giants are due to make a splash. He's still going to be in Cali, and I think that could potentially be where he goes. But I will say this, I think the New York Mets, I think the New York Yankees, I think every team that plays in California, not named the Padres, or maybe even the Padres, I think they're all going to take a stab at this guy. And I also think Seattle and the Texas Rangers are going to be in the war as well. In the end, I think the Giants finally get their man. As far as the immediate trade future goes for the New York Yankees, I have a feeling we might make a play on Juan Soto to finally complete that outfield and finally get somebody that is credible in left field. And even though I've been very hard on Anthony Rizzo and Giancarlo Stanton lately, if you insert Juan Soto into that lineup, I think it takes a lot of pressure off of guys like Stanton and Rizzo, who now they're just kind of lying in the weeds.
Yeah.
Big G definitely a disappointment this year. Rizzo, he misses his boy Judge because when Judge is in the lineup, Rizzo produces. Unfortunately, well, I'll give you some good news. I'll try to give you some good news because we've gotten a lot of bad news with this Yankee team. Aaron Judge taking live batting practice against real pitching. That's a good thing. Jonathan Loaisaga is also ramping it up. He might be back soon as well. Two guys that the Yankees definitely need if they want to make any kind of run. And we have a Ben Rortvedt sighting. A lot of people forget Ben Rortvedt was included in that Josh Donaldson, Gary Sanchez trade. He's a left-handed catcher. The only way that a lot of people know him is if you play the show like I do. But I like having a left-handed bat at catcher. It's a short porch. I like my lefties. But like I said, pal, the Yankees absolutely need to play well in the next 10 to 14 days to give the organization a reason to go out and see if they can salvage this season. And it's not just about 23. I think the Yankees have to have the right mixture of young filtration of talent coming up from the minor league system, in addition to adding a couple of veterans that can make an impact, because it's the weirdest thing to watch Yankee baseball and have the offense be this inept. I mean, dude, even in the 80s when my dad used to take me to the stadium and we had shit pitching and we just weren't a good team, we always were able to hit. You had Mattingly, you had Winfield, you had Ricky Henderson, you had Willie Randolph. You had guys that can hit. We don't got any of that happening right now. Without Judge, it goes to show you just how great Judge is when his absence has affected them.
Without him in the lineup, you can definitely it's a night and day difference. So,
yeah, for sure, man. We're going to see how this all shapes up. Brett, I greatly appreciate you hanging with me. I know you got a long day in front of you. Are you off tomorrow, dude?
No, I'm closing tomorrow and closing Monday.
Well, we're going to make some plans soon. I owe you a visit, so I'm going to get over to your house in the near future. We'll get on our 2K tournament. Also, to the viewers, just want to give you a heads up. Friend of the show, Zay Rodriguez, I spoke to him recently. We're going to be doing the Diss Tracks show. We haven't forgotten. And we're also going to be breaking some of these hip-hop beefs into individual shows. I also want to make a mention that coming up in roughly a week, we're going to start our division previews for the NFL. I want to make a shout out to some of the Facebook groups who have been supporting the show. Much love. I greatly appreciate you guys letting me share our content to more people. Very much appreciate you guys for doing that. If you haven't already, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube, where you could see me, more of this guy, Mr. Brett Bandick, as well as our guys, Idris and Zappy. And we're going to have a special guest making an appearance in the near future that will be revealed pretty soon. For my brother, Mr. Brett Bandick, I am your host, Richie, and I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your Saturday to hang with us. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone, and go Yankees.
Have a good weekend, everybody.